2024 meeting of the City of Summit Zoning Board of Adjustment. My name is Stephanie Soulios, and I am the Secretary of the Zoning Board of Adjustment. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Behind you. They moved it.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. In accordance with New Jersey Statute 10:4-10, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided to a newspaper of record and has been posted here in City Hall. This meeting is the official reorganization meeting of the board and is a judicial proceeding. Any questions or comments must be limited to the issues that are relevant to what the board may legally consider in reaching a decision, and decorum appropriate to a judicial hearing must be maintained at all times. For the benefit of the interested public, this meeting is being live streamed to the city's YouTube page and also broadcasted on Summit's government channel, which is Comcast Channel 34 and Verizon Channel 30. A transcript of this meeting is also being taken using the video and audio, so we need all speakers to utilize one of the microphones in the room. Please note that the fire exits are to my right, your left, and at the back of the room where you entered. The city has a listening system to assist the hearing impaired. If anyone needs hearing assistance, please obtain the system at the dais and return it thereafter. 5 new members have been appointed to the board by the City Council. Would the new members please stand and be sworn in by legal counsel Andy Ball?
If all the new members could please raise your right hand and then repeat after me. I state your name. Do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey, and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same and to the governments established in the United States and in this state, under the authority of the people. I do solemnly swear or affirm that I will faithfully, impartially, and justly perform all the duties as a member of the Summit Zoning Board according to the best of my ability. So help me God. Congratulations.
At this time, we will elect the chair of the board for the calendar year 2024. Are there any nominations?
Yes, Secretary. I'd like to nominate Joe Steiner, who had served as vice chair, to be the chairman of the zoning board.
Okay. Can I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Do we have any other nominations? Okay. So we will vote on this nomination. Mr. Nelson?
Yes.
Ms. Zahn?
Yes.
Mr. Kieran?
Yes.
Mr. Malay?
Yes.
Mr. Loiketz?
Yes.
Ms. Toth?
Yes.
Ms. Chifo?
Yes.
Mr. Feskins?
Yes.
Mr. Chanchuli?
Yes.
The motion carries. Congratulations.
I get to move over here.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I get to turn the page. If I can find it. Ever tried to turn a page that doesn't want to get turned? Okay. Thank you all for your confidence in electing me. I hope I do the job you all expect me to, and I'll anticipate that we can have a great year here on the board. This board meets more often than any other committee or board in the city of Summit. We normally have at least 20 meetings a year, and if there's an extra one that's thrown in for extra large projects, that has been known to happen. So it's one of the reasons we have 11 members, 7 regular and 4 alternates, because not everyone can make every meeting, and that also goes for the chair that sometimes takes a vacation or gets a slight illness or whatever and can't be here. So therefore, we need to elect a vice chair. And at this point, I would look for nominations for the vice chair. Jeff?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to nominate Mr. Loikis, who's been a very active and thorough member of the board previously.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any other nominations from anyone else? Seeing none, would you call the roll?
Sure. Chairman Steiner?
Yes.
Mr. Nelson?
Yes.
Ms. Zahn?
Yes.
Mr. Curran?
Yes.
Mr. Malay?
Yes.
Ms. Toth?
Yes.
Ms. Chifo?
Yes.
Mr. Feskins?
Yes.
Mr. Chanchuli?
Yes.
The motion carries. Congratulations.
He is going to be very busy this year because there are lots of things and lots of cases coming down that we're going to have to deal with. And as I told last year's board, I don't know every portion of the zoning code or the MUL or any of those things, and I need all the help I can get from all 11 of us to collegially make the right decisions for the city of Summit. At this point, we go through the process each year of us reviewing and adopting appointments for our professional staff. Stephanie, you have the list.
I think you're supposed to do my nomination now,
I could, you know, it even says I'm supposed to do that. See, there's mistake number 1 corrected by
though.
the person who keeps the glue to this organization together, and that's our secretary. And at this point, it is appropriate for us to nominate Stephanie, and I'm going to do this one myself. I will nominate Stephanie Sulios as the secretary of the board. Is there a second?
Second.
I'm not going to call a roll. I'm going to say a unanimous vote if we can get it. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those, any opposed? Any abstentions? Unanimously passed. Thank you,
Thank you.
as usual. So now, we have 3 professional appointments. They are our attorney, which is Andy Ball, who is next to me. Collier's Engineering, and Boris Associates.
Burgess.
Why do I say Boris? And Burgess Associates and Sesbury as our planner. And the 2 representatives for that company is there, and I'll be introducing them just a little bit later. I believe we need a motion to adopt each of these contracts and refer them to the city to execute.
Right.
Is there such a motion?
So moved? Or are we doing them one at a time?
One at a time.
One at a time, so pick
Okay.
one.
Okay, because Andy puts up with me nagging him about the Oxford comma on all of the resolutions. I enthusiastically nominate Andy Ball to be our attorney again. Thank you.
And the firm is,
It's,
Davison Eastman Munoz Payout.
Okay, thank
Okay.
you.
is there a second?
Second.
Call the roll, please.
yes. Chairman Steiner?
Yes.
Mr. Nelson?
Yes.
Ms. Zahn?
Yes.
Mr. Curran?
Yes.
Mr. Malay?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Loikis?
Yes.
Ms. Toth?
Yes.
Ms. Chifo?
Yes.
Mr. Feskins?
Yes.
Mr. Chanchuli?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you all.
Okay, the next one is Collier Engineering, and Maria is here representing them tonight. Is there a motion on the engineer?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second. Jay.
Jay on the other end, okay.
Okay. Chairman Steiner?
Yes.
Mr. Nelson?
Yes.
Ms. Zahn?
Yes.
Mr. Curran?
Yes.
Mr. Malay?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Loiketz?
Yes.
Ms. Toth?
Yes.
Ms. Chifo?
Yes.
Mr. Feskins?
Yes.
Mr. Chanchuli?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Okay.
Thank you all.
Joe Burgess is the, one of the senior planners in the state and has been with Summit for many, many years, and I was the one who said the wrong name. But anyway, Joe Burgess is here tonight. He is the head of their firm. Normally, we see two of their able assistants here, but they couldn't make it tonight, so they sent the boss. And we have gone through a review of all of the planners that submitted proposals and have decided to stay with Burgess. And we would look for a motion for that particular contract.
I'll make a motion.
Second?
Reappoint. Second.
Okay. Chairman Steiner?
Yes.
Mr. Nelson?
Yes.
Ms. Zahn?
Yes.
Mr. Curran?
Yes.
Mr. Malay?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Loiketz?
Yes.
Ms. Toth?
Yes.
Ms. Chifo?
Yes.
Mr. Feskins?
Yes.
Mr. Chanchuli?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Okay, and our last administrative item is to adopt the corrected calendar or revised calendar. And
Yes, there
can
was,
you explain what we did?
it was a mistake on my part. However, it was already published from last year, from 2023, as the correct date as January 17th. But then when I redid the calendar for this year, I accidentally put January 18th. So the correct date of our next January meeting should be January 17th. So we're just going to make
So
that
anybody who
official.
put the wrong date on your calendar, please change it.
Yes. So no mistake, it is January 17th now. That's what it is.
Okay. We are adopting the entire calendar over again, so we need a motion to that effect.
Moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Should we go back and do the roll call now? We didn't do an official, I'm sorry, attendance.
Go for it.
Okay. Mr. Yuko is excused this evening. Chairman Steiner?
Here.
Mr. Nelson?
Here.
Ms. Zahn?
Here.
Mr. Curran?
Here.
Mr. Malay?
Here.
Vice Chairman Loiketz?
Here.
Ms. Toth?
Here.
Ms. Chifo?
Here.
Mr. Feskins?
Here.
Mr. Chanchuli?
Here.
You have a quorum. You may proceed.
Okay. We've just appointed these professionals, so let me introduce the public to them and explain their functions. Andy Ball is the zoning board's attorney. He will advise the board members on matters of law and is the key interface with the applicant's attorney and is the key, and he does not vote on any of the applications. Stephanie, who I explained is the glue that keeps us together, is a city employee and is the zoning board secretary. She works with the applicants on preparing those applications, planning our agendas, and keeping our meeting minutes. She also does not vote on the applications. Also present is Marie Raffe, our board's engineer, who is seated at the table to our right, your left, up front. Also seated at that table is Joe Burgess. Normally it would be Ed Snikes or Tom Burns, who's not, then they, as I said, sent the boss. So they provide input to the board and also do not vote on the applications. Our board, as you heard tonight, consists of 7 regular members and up to 4 alternates. All members can participate in the hearings tonight, but a maximum of 7 can vote. Most applications require a simple majority to be approved. When we review the conditions being considered on the application, we will announce the number of votes that are required. Each case begins with the applicant or their attorney giving an overview of the application process to date and the variances that are required. We then hear from any additional expert witnesses that the applicant may have to help explain the application and why the variances are needed. Board members may ask questions of the applicant, their attorney, and expert witnesses. Once the board members and the board professionals have completed their questioning, the public will have an opportunity to ask questions. That is not the time for you to tell us what you think about the project or the case. That opportunity comes at the end of the hearing. Before you ask your questions, please clearly state your name, spell your last name, and provide your address. And again, it's important that you use a microphone because the court reporter needs to be able to hear, to keep a clear and accurate public record. After all the witnesses have been heard, members of the audience then have the second opportunity to speak, and at that time you will be sworn and you may express your opinion, positive or negative, about that application. Then the public hearing is closed and we enter into what's called executive session, where the board members discuss the case and vote. You'll be able to listen to our executive session, but you will normally not be able to participate in our discussion. Krista Anderson, who is the city's zoning officer, has asked that we remind all applicants that they must read carefully the resolution that documents the zoning board's decision and to pay particular attention to the conditions contained in the resolution. For example, if a landscape plan is required, you must obtain one and submit it to John Linson, the city's forester. If a grading plan is required, you must have one prepared by a civil engineer and submit 3 copies along with the application fee to the city's engineering division. Failure to satisfy all the conditions in a resolution will result in a delay in approving your application, and it will cause extra work for the zoning staff. The resolutions documenting the board's decision are normally available 1 month after we decide the case. Now, we have a few changes in the agenda, not because we want to, but because certain things have happened in the last 2 days that are making changes. So let me make sure I get this right. 2 of our cases have asked to be deferred and come back another day for a further deliberation. Let's take the first one is, let me get the right, why am I not seeing an address on this one? 259 Summit Avenue has requested through the secretary that we not hear their case tonight and that it be moved to February the 5th. You got the letter, right?
I believe
Or
I
the
did.
email.
There were, yes. Yes.
Okay. And their reason for doing so was?
There were significant revisions to the plans, which required all their expert input. They've requested that the board carry that application without further notice and have waived the board's timeframe within which to act.
Okay, is there any discussion on this from questions from board members?
Well,
Is there a-
my only question is, this is the second time it has been carried. And has enough time passed that we think it might make sense to request that they notice the neighbors again?
Normally, I wouldn't recommend it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not so extreme that the neighbors would not be aware that it would be heard on the next meeting date.
Quick question, how many people are here for this particular application tonight? The one at, again, at 259 Summit Avenue?
I think they're all here for
No one is here for that?
Yeah.
That,
That answers that question.
okay. We need a motion to carry this to February the 5th,
So moved.
as with all the conditions as outlined.
I'll second.
Okay. Chairman Steiner?
Yes.
Mr. Nelson?
Yes.
Ms. Zahn?
Yes.
Mr. Kieran?
Yes.
Mr. Malay?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Loiketz?
Yes.
Ms. Toth?
Yes.
The motion carries.
And the second case that has asked to be deferred is 111 Beekman Terrace, or 35 Beekman Terrace, depending upon which address you want to use. And they submitted information on Friday, and I believe Alfonso and Weber, I don't know if there's anybody, okay, will recognize you for your appearance, which is not for the applicant, but for the...
Thank you, and congratulations, Chairman Steiner and all the new members of the board.
Okay, you're making your appearance for the,
Thank you. On behalf of 3 neighbors at 40 Beekman, 27 Beekman, and 40 Beekman.
okay, and you'll take care of notifying them should we agree to move it.
Yes, however, I spoke briefly with Andy. We do believe that the notice is deficient based on, it does not provide that there are any variances required, nor does it list what the variances are. It merely says they're looking to construct a sports court with lights.
Right, and we did review the notice. Our recommendation, although they requested that it be carried without further notice, would be that additional notice is required to avoid that jurisdictional issue.
Can we still do it on the date that was suggested?
March 18th, we can do.
Okay, so it would be March 18th would be the date of the new notice that will have to go out.
Thank you.
And we will notify the applicants.
And back in October, Stephanie, you and I had a conversation that although the neighbor at block 1702, lot 22.02, that's on Hillview Terrace, is within the 200-foot radius, they were not on the list of neighbors to be notified that the tax office gave the applicants. So I would also, this is a good time to catch up and make sure that that neighbor is also notified.
So we'll put that in your hands to handle, but yeah, and then perhaps we should issue them a new corrected list
Okay.
Yes.
without charge, because I guess we made the,
Yeah, it's no problem.
because when you get that list, you actually get charged for it, so let's give them let's correct our own mistake. Okay, then we would entertain a motion to schedule this with new notice on March 18th.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. And if I could just note how many of our neighbors are here for that meeting. Should have done it earlier, but
I did
Thank
that
you.
for the other one, I'll do it. You just did it for this one. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Chairman Steiner,
Yes.
Mr. Nelson,
Yes.
Ms. Zahn,
Yes.
Mr. Curran,
Yes.
Mr. Malay,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Loiketz,
Yes.
Ms. Toth.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Okay, now I'm going to change it up a little bit. Those of you, the next case would be 44 Beverly Road. And if somebody representing that particular application can come forward and tell us how many witnesses you have and whether or not you think you can get it done in 30 minutes. And again, tell us your name.
Hi, I'm Lori Alpert, Lori Alpert, at 44 Beverly, and I have one witness.
And you think you can do it in 30 minutes?
I think I can do it in 5 minutes.
Okay. That's a very
I'll
good
try to make
answer,
it
but I
short and
but I
sweet.
won't hold you to it. Okay, thank you. You'll be first. Now, let's go to 66 Prospect Hill. Jeff and Holly Simmons, would one of you come forward and give us the same information?
Holly Simmons, do you mean to spell?
Not
my
yet.
name? No?
When we swear you in, we will.
Okay. We're here because we would like to add a master bathroom and slightly expand my husband's office.
And you have how many witnesses?
Myself, my husband, and our architect.
Okay, and do you think you can get it done in 30 minutes?
Oh, yes.
Okay. All right, well, we will then have a seat,
Okay.
watch how it goes.
Okay.
And we will start with the 44 Beverly Road. please come up, sit, make yourself comfortable at the table. And we will begin with the applicant, and Andy will swear you in.
If you could please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth? Please state your name, spell your last name.
Yes, Lori Albert, A-L-P-E-R-T.
Thank you.
Okay, can you explain to us what variances you're looking for and what you're looking to accomplish with this project?
Yeah, we actually moved in 2 years ago, and what we're looking to do is to redo a pre-existing patio. So that's why we just found out we needed a variance for it. We were unaware of the variance situation when we moved in.
Okay, any questions from the board? Okay, any questions from the professionals?
I have a
Okay.
question.
Uh,
I don't know if this is the time
Sure.
for the question, but I had,
Just for the applicant,
okay, so.
not necessarily for the,
Yeah, mine is
for the
a
expert
zoning
witnesses.
question. Okay.
and we can always go back to the, if
Okay.
it belongs to the applicant, we can always go
Okay.
back. Okay, then let's, I assume you want your your
Yes,
architect
I'm going
to
to turn this over to
carry
you.
all the heavy lifting.
Yes.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your name, spell your last name.
Andrew Clark, C-L-A-R-K-E.
Thank you, and I'll note for the board that you've appeared before us a number of times, including recently. Any changes to your credentials since the last time you were here?
No, simply lost the beard.
I think that counts as a significant change. Any questions, or would you like to accept him once again?
I think we will accept him beardless.
Thank you.
Andrew, you're on.
All right, so I'll explain what we have here. So the Alperts purchased the house and moved in 2022. And at the time, there was an existing patio arrangement. I'm referring to I submitted as part of the documentation, the boundary survey, which is dated September 29th, 2023, and shows the existing conditions. So they contacted me and said, we began rebuilding our patio and we were stopped and told that, hey, you need variance relief for this. So they stopped. They contacted me. I said, all right, well, we'll figure this out. I came out and did a survey to establish what the current conditions are. Also had the advantage of the survey that they had done when they purchased the home. So what I did on this boundary survey was depict the patio as far as it had gone, which were for me the existing conditions at time of the survey. And then for context and to understand where things started, I have in dashed lines and labeled as the patio as per the 2022 survey on the survey. So that gives reference to when they bought the house, what was there, where was it located, what size was it, and how was it all situated. So that is all depicted on here along with the corresponding coverage calculations that relate to both that current, when I did the survey, and the 2022 survey. So what they moved in and realized that the patio was in a state of disrepair, had been there for some time, and began to rebuild it, not understanding that they needed a permit for that, let alone a variance. So then as soon as they were notified of that, they stopped. Came to me, I did the survey. What they're proposing to do now is depicted on the proposed patio plan, which has the same date, September 29, 2023. So I took the existing conditions, I took off the 2022 information, and then laid on the additional section of patio that they're intending to construct behind the one that's already reconstructed. So that's the 17 by 20 section of patio that's labeled as proposed. We discussed it a bit. I recognize that there's an excess of lot coverage in addition to the setbacks that are in play. So one of the recommendations I made, and the Alperts agreed that it made sense in order to keep the lot coverage as close to the existing and when they purchased it. We're moving, there was an ancillary patio in the back left corner that had like a fire pit and a little patio around it. also in a non-conforming location. So they agreed that that could be removed, should be removed, and that what was more important was the patio that was proximate to the dwelling in terms of their outdoor space. So that's what's proposed here. With regards to the variances, the proposed patio, the ordinance in Summit allows for patios to encroach 10 feet into the required rear yard. So in this zone, 40 feet is the required rear yard, so 30 feet is the required setback to any patios. This obviously does not meet that. However, the 12.4 feet to the rear, which should be 30 feet, is almost exactly matching what the original patio was from 2022 when they moved in. So that's essentially the same in terms of the proximity to that rear property, lot 5. On the right side, the existing patio is required to be 12 feet from the side yard. The existing patio is about 8 feet. What we're proposing is 6.5 feet, and that's really just for aesthetic alignment with the portion of the patio that they already reconstructed. So it's about 18 inches closer to that right boundary than what the existing patio was, and obviously not meeting the 12-foot. So those are the two setback variances. The lot coverage variance is the third one, where in the 2022 survey, and the patio that existed when they purchased the home, the lot coverage was 40.2%, 3,535 square feet. And this proposal would bring that, with the removal of that ancillary patio, would bring it to 41%. So it's a 0.8% increase, or 77 square feet additional lot coverage. The stormwater is always the big concern. In my view, this is not a prevalent issue on this application because the increase in the lot coverage is arguably de minimis. It's very minor in nature, and in fact, there might be a slight improvement by removing the patio that's closer to the neighbors. The general drainage pattern here is sort of from, if you're looking at the drawing, from right to left or east to west. So drainage moves to the extent that it does, because it is fairly level out there. It moves across the backyard towards that ancillary patio. So I feel like removing that impervious area that's in the area where it would be headed anyway is going to give a lot more vegetated space between the patio and the neighbors to dissipate any runoff. There was a significant storm a few weeks ago, a little over 4 inches of rain that I'm sure everyone remembers. There were observations made in the rear yard area immediately following that, and there were no observed drainage issues in the wake of that storm. I think that's a very good benchmark and measure for how this property behaves with regards to stormwater. And I don't think the increase of the 77 square feet is going to change that materially. In addition to that aspect, the other aspect with the proximity and the setbacks is screening and impacts on the neighbors. It should be noted that on the left side, there's a pretty significant arborvitae hedge along that metal fence. And the Alperts have, since the completion of the survey, wrapped some of that around the back along the stockade fence. And that stockade fence is substantial, solid, and about 6 feet high. I couldn't really see over it without getting on something when I was doing the survey to see what was on the other side. And on the right side, there are not evergreen or arborvitae hedge, but there is some landscaping, and in fact, the Alperts are very friendly with those neighbors. They share some of that space with, in terms of gardening. So it doesn't seem warranted at this time and in this case to strengthen the buffering on that side, given the relationship. So all in all, I think that there really isn't a negative effect from this application. So when you're weighing, the benefits versus the detriments, there effectively are no substantial detriments that I can identify. So I think the board would be well supported in considering this application, and I'm happy to field any questions that anyone may have.
Going to the professionals first. Maureen?
Well, it sounds like you covered everything. One thing that I didn't hear, could you just confirm for the record whether you're removing any trees from the property at all?
No, there are no trees planned for removal. In fact, there have been in this last summer season a couple of trees planted.
That's all I had.
When this was done, when this was stopped, what work had been done that remains?
So, on the proposed patio plan, you
That's-
see the brick paver patio that's immediately behind the house.
Okay,
That there was a patio there, it was reconstructed as shown. And the walkway connecting the driveway to the back was reconstructed slightly wider. So it was rather narrow path originally, and it was constructed to like a 3-foot width.
was it different materials than were there? And
Yeah,
if so,
I
and
mean,
if
you
so,
know,
what are
in
the-
that it's more modern brick pavers than the brick paving that had been there before.
is there anything that would affect drainage in the change?
No, I would think the brick pavers here in the stone and sand is probably as good or slightly better than the materials that were there before in terms of absorption. So brick pavers often will absorb a little bit of like light-duty rains and not have any runoff to speak of. So I think it's a slight improvement over what the materials were before.
Yes,
Mr. Clark, can you remind this board again, what's the minimum square footage required for an R10 zone lot?
So the minimum requirement is 10,000 square feet, and this is an 8,800 square foot lot, so it's slightly undersized for the zone.
I was just gonna ask you, is it your expert opinion that this lot is undersized for the zone?
It is.
Excellent. And would that undersized lot then have a potentially adverse effect on the setbacks in the rear and side yards?
Sure, yeah, you don't have the depth that you might have that would achieve the full measure of the lot area, so that would have given us some more room in the back.
Thank you.
Point, thank you.
I believe. Did they answer your question that you initially started with?
No.
About the zoning.
Would you like to ask it?
Yeah, well, mine goes back to the fact that first of all, I think this is, something that looks lovely, and I don't want people to not have a patio. But I have to ask the question related to stormwater.
Sure.
Because when I was reading through the documents, I think, and I don't know what's grandfathered in and what's not, that's what I want to ask. Because it looks like this patio was built sometime after 1995, clearly before you bought the property, but it wasn't permitted. And at that time, what the amount that was added was, say, 455 square feet. And you're adding another 77, which brings it to 532 square feet above, what is considered the allowable lot coverage. And so 200 square feet is the sort of the trigger point for stormwater management in Summit, right? What's considered de minimis. This only is 77 square feet because the first one wasn't permitted. So my question is that existing patio area, that 455 square feet that was there without a permit, is that grandfathered in? Or does that have to be counted in this square footage? And if so, then it triggers some stormwater management. And I just, you do have slopes to the neighbor on the side and the neighbor in the back, so I figure it's a.
So the requirement in the code, I actually have it open on my screen in front of me. It's any cumulus increase in impervious coverage of 300 square feet or more, or less, is exempt from the stormwater management requirement. And the code provides that the cumulative increase shall represent a total increase of impervious coverage measured against the existing impervious coverage that is within a given property on the date of the passage of this ordinance. And unfortunately for us, it doesn't specify when that particular section was adopted. We know the most recent DRO was just adopted within the past couple of years, but we have no way of telling when that section was adopted compared to when this particular patio was put in. I've heard 95, it sounds like it existed.
Well, you just know it's after 95, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I can't say for sure, but I would hazard a guess that it would probably be exempt, that initial installation of the
Okay.
patio, and that we're only looking at the excess coverage that's being proposed here.
Yeah, that's a good question, though. I think in this case, some of the board members that have known me for some time, I'm very proactive about stormwater generally, and I'm always concerned about it on behalf of my clients and their neighbors at all times. If I thought there was a substantial issue out in the field with the stormwater, I would probably have advocated a bit more for some kind of measures, if for no other reason, for the residents themselves. In this case, I don't think there's a great risk here in terms of the stormwater, but, you know, your point is very well taken.
Marie, do you have any thoughts on this?
No, I was, you know, I'm in agreement with the 300 square feet being the trigger, and, you know, it's a hard one to say about what the passage of that ordinance was. I was just trying to see if I could dig into that, but I don't know what that is. You know, it seems like, you know, as if there's some heavy storms that have happened. You know, the applicant gave testimony as to the conditions that are out there right now. It seems like it's probably a well-established rear yard at this point. You know, and I think maybe the board might be hard-pressed to say that they have to put something in, because there's nothing in the ordinance to support that. It might be more of a, maybe I'm crossing a line into an attorney thing.
I agree with you there.
Mr. Clark, what's the slate that's being removed, being replaced with? It's just grass?
Oh, the ancillary patio?
Yes.
Yeah, that's just gonna be grass, it's landscape, so that.
So if you had to guess, that would improve or increase the area of pervious
Right.
surface over.
That's
the entire-
correct, and based on the positioning, as I was indicating, water generally flows across like that, so nothing is coming off that once it's removed, and you had a little bit more green to soak up anything that does come across.
For the protection of the neighbors and for, as you said, the applicants themselves, would it be appropriate for us to retain drainage jurisdiction for 2 years?
That's always a safe alternative, assuming the applicants are willing to agree to that as a condition.
Yeah, so that,
If
just
you
so you
wanna
understand what
explain
that
it to-
means that in the period of 2 years following the passage of this application, if something substantial occurred with regards to stormwater as a result of your project, and one of the neighbors came in and voiced a concern, then this board would retain some jurisdiction over that and be able to implement or require to be implemented some additional stormwater measures if something did arise. Yes.
Okay, so they would.
Thank you.
Does that make?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Question, Mr. Clark, was the existing patio extended towards the side yard? What's been done? And just for clarity,
Yeah, so the easiest way to see that is on the boundary survey plan.
Yep.
So on the boundary survey plan, you can see sort of the outline in solid lines right behind the house of the patio as it is now, that was reconstructed. And then the dashed lines beneath it are what the original patio. So the two areas were to expand. It did expand a little bit, and it did expand to the right, sort of to meet and capture the walkway that's coming up. And then in the back left corner of that, it was sort of squared off.
Any other questions from board members?
Yeah, I'm glad you're on such wonderful terms with your next-door neighbors. And I know they've got that planter bed close to you and all of that, but neighbors change and relationships with new neighbors may not be as good. I don't know if there's some way we can capture that if the situation changes, you do something to screen your patio. You may just decide, if cranky people move next door, that you want to. But I don't know, I have no clue how we could capture something like that.
It's tough.
Yeah, you can't really conditionally grant the variance.
No.
We have the drainage jurisdiction
Right,
there for the
right.
period of
Yes,
time, but
yeah, we
if something
can't do
happens in the
cranky neighbor
future, there's no way you
jurisdiction.
can, yeah.
I think your cranky neighbor scenario is probably the most likely control over that, you know,
Mhm.
if somebody comes in and you immediately realize you're not getting along with them. Both parties usually are like, yeah, let's
Okay.
put up some screening.
Okay. Any other questions from,
Joe, Chairman?
yes, I'm sorry.
The,
Don?
on both plans, the proposed patio, 17 by 20, is that the new patio?
So
Or does
that would be the
brick?
patio that we would like to construct that has not yet been constructed.
Has nothing to do with the brick paver patio?
That's right. The brick paver patio that's labeled there is the one that's already
Already
been
existing.
reconstructed, and that was there at the point when they were told to stop.
So along those lines, is there, maybe I'm being picky, so excuse me, but to gain more of a side yard, could they move that proposed patio over? I know there'll be a kick-in.
Yeah, it'll shift in.
Was that ever considered?
Yeah, we did discuss it. There's a little, they sort of began a little bit of a edge to it on that right side, and I did suggest and discuss whether that was possible, and it seemed like it would be more difficult to do than not at this point. I mean, ultimately, if that was, you know, the will of the board, then it could happen. I think it'd probably be the path of least resistance to have it as it's shown.
Thank you.
So along those lines, did you consider maybe going east to west more versus north?
Well, I think the dimensions of the patio are related to two things, is the, you know, sort of the extent of where the original patio was and that sort of graded area that's already there. And then, furniture placement, to be honest, you know, a little couch, outdoor couch and a table arrangement on there. So it was sort of, they seem to have done a pretty good amount of thought over how that dimensionally would be best situated.
Other questions from the board? Okay, questions for this witness from the public? No one from the public wishes to question this witness, okay? Do you have any other witnesses? Okay, would you like to make any closing statements at this point?
I do have a letter from my neighbor to the left.
Oh, yeah, that's worth noting. Obviously, letters are not something that are directly admissible as evidence, but it is
Correct.
evidence
Aye.
of the fact that they have spoken with their neighbors, and their neighbors are in support. The letter that was written was very supportive of the application, and neighbors on both sides have been in contact with the Alberts and are supportive of the application.
And my neighbor on the right would have been here, but they just had a baby, so.
Okay, are there, is
I
there,
I have a question. Who issued the stop order? Like, was there a complaint?
I believe so. My understanding is that, you know, brick pavers, sometimes they have to cut them to, you know, at the edges and shapes, and I think they were cutting and there was some dust, and one of the neighbors called and thought they were building a pool or something, and called the town. The town came out and said, hey, wait a minute, we don't have a permit for this. So that's how it happened. There was a complaint over the cutting of some of the bricks.
But you don't know if that was one of the neighbors that wrote the letters?
I don't know. Do you know what
No,
neighbor?
no,
I
we
don't
have
know.
no idea.
I don't think they usually share that, you know.
no, the police
Nor-
department?
normally
Like
that's not-
fingers at whoever made a complaint.
Okay, are there any members of the public that would like to express an opinion on this particular case? Okay, seeing none.
I don't think we have any closing statements other than, you know, thank you for consideration, and we put it to the board for deliberation.
Thank you. Do we have, at this point, what we will do is, our attorney will tell us the conditions that he has noted during our discussion, which would be added to the resolutions that we will pass, or we will review a month from now.
So-
And you'll also tell us how many votes are required.
Yes, so we have two conditions so far that I have noted. First is our usual compliance with those conditions noted in the board engineer's memorandum. And then second, as we discussed, was that the board shall retain drainage jurisdiction for a period of 2 years after the completion of construction. Since this application only involves C variances, no D variances, a majority or 4 votes are required to approve it.
Okay. Who would like to now move into executive session where we will discuss, you can watch, but unless we ask a question of the applicant or someone else specifically, you will not be participating. Who might like to start the discussion? Scott, you look like you were.
I do?
You did look like you were.
Absolutely. Mr. Chairman, I can see myself very much in favor of this application. I believe it's an extremely reasonable request to duplicate the existing conditions, which I believe are only in violation of current zoning because of the hardship due to the size of the lot. And it's being undersized compared to other lots within the R10 zone. So I would absolutely support this application.
So what you're saying is if the percentage, if you adapt the percentage to the requirements, they probably wouldn't be here.
Yes.
Okay. Anyone else have,
Well,
Claire?
I'll throw in, the math is pretty easy with the 10,000 square foot
Mhm.
minimum lot size. They would be marginally over, but not significantly over, with a full-size lot. But certainly what the applicant is proposing here makes a lot of sense. The pre-existing patio was very choppy looking and challenging to use, whereas this one, I think, is much more user-friendly. I truly appreciate that they're removing the fire pit from the corner. I know Mr. Clark is pretty good about horse trading on lot coverage, but that's a very reasonable trade-off and ask. They've worked with their neighbors. They've done, once they realize they've made a mistake, that the applicant has done everything right, and I too can support this application.
Okay, anyone else? How about on this side? Mr. Malay, you're fine with it? Okay. Any other comments from anyone?
I just have one, and I am also in support of this. I mean, I think that the layout just looks much more functional, and it was choppy, as Ms. Toth said. So when I looked at it, it looked like, well, this looks like a normal patio shape and everything. But I just did want to clarify that, and I do appreciate the fire pit being removed, because that does make it less. But just to clarify that they're removing the fire pit does not it decreases the amount of impervious cover that you would be over. It doesn't, there is a net increase in impervious cover. So I just wanted to note that, which I appreciate with the drainage. Just, it's such a small amount that I don't think it's probably going to be an issue, but there are a lot of stormwater issues in Summit, and I wouldn't want to overlook it. So I think that's a good compromise.
Okay, I think that this is one of those that we can support. We are handling some drainage issues and making sure that in the future we have dealt with it. We have made corrections to something that our city department has discovered as an error, and we've gone through what we need to do to make it right. And it is certainly, I don't see any negatives to this, to the public good or to the zoning code. And there seem to be positives in allowing them to properly utilize their property and safely use their patio. So I think that those are significant enough reasons to approve this particular application. Is there a motion from someone to accept the application and to provide the variances?
So moved.
Second.
Chairman Steiner,
Yes.
Mr. Nelson,
Yes.
Ms. Zahn,
Yes.
Mr. Curran,
Yes.
Mr. Malay,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Loikett,
Yes.
Ms. Toad.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Once
Good luck.
again, I do warn you, read the resolution. We've had a couple of cases where somebody forgot to.
Wrath of Krista.
And never mind the wrath of Krista, the fact that you have to come back here. And we're nice people, but you don't really want to have to come back.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to 66 Prospect Hill. Ladies and, do we need a break? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to end early, obviously, compared to where we thought we would. I've asked Mr. Burgess to stay And he's willing to provide about a half hour of planning training. That's one of the things we will try to do for all of you over the next few months, to have our professionals provide training. And because he's one of the experts in the field, he can do this, what do they say, winging it? And to give us some training right after our last case. So if you would be so kind as to stay, we'll go into executive session for the purpose of training. We'll come out of executive session with no further action being taken by the board tonight. So, okay, you're here. Okay, we're going to go. Okay, everybody's still on the board. Now, for anybody who might have recused themselves. Please state your name, and Mr. Ball will swear you in.
If you could please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth? Please state your name and spell your last name.
Holly Simmons, Simmons.
Thank you.
Okay, can you explain to us what it is that you're attempting to do here and what variances are required as you understand it?
Okay, certainly. So we've lived in the house about 9 years. We love our house.
Can I get you to pull a microphone over just a little? Thank
Can you hear me better now?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, so we've lived in the house about 9 years now, and we love our old house. But we would be very excited if we could add a proper master bathroom, and that would be going above my husband's current office. And his office would come out just a couple of square feet in order to have it all sort of square up. So that's in essence what we're looking to do in terms of the additions to the house.
Okay, and you're going to ask your architect to
Yes.
to carry the water,
If you could
carry
take
the
it from
heavy
here,
lifting?
yes, please.
Okay, are there any questions for the applicant? Seeing none, we'll swear in your expert.
If you could raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Please state your name, spell your last name.
Thomas Bijak, B-I-J-A-K.
Thank you. And can you briefly describe your background and experience for the board?
I'm a licensed architect in the state of New Jersey. I work for Brian Siegel Architects in Chatham, New Jersey. I've been a registered licensed architect since 2008. I presented before this board several years ago, as well as other boards in the area of Chatham Borough, Chatham Township, Forest Township, New Providence, and so on.
Thank you. Any questions from the board, or would you like to accept his credentials?
I believe we can accept his credentials. Go. Tell us the good news here.
Well, I have a photo board that I'd like to present to.
Okay, this is A1.
I also have,
If you-
I can just hand out, it's the same photo board, just miniaturized and colorized to the board members.
Those will be A2. Does that color, are they different?
Yeah, I
And they
think
were
we
taken
should-
when?
The photos were taken yesterday.
Okay, and they represent accurately the properties that are, I'm not sure if they're all the same properties or they're different ones, but they accurately reflect
They reflect
those
that.
properties.
Yes.
Okay, please, you will have to leave the board with Stephanie.
Excuse me?
You will have to leave the board with
Yeah,
Stephanie later.
that's fine.
Oh, good, it happened to somebody else. We have to share.
I think there's plenty.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, the project's located at 66 Prospect Hill Avenue. It's a 2.5-story Tudor Revival style home built in 1926. And we are seeking two variances. One for combined side yard setback and
one for maximum lot coverage. I want to point out that in the package that the town resubmitted, reviewing the whole zoning, that Krista Anderson's zoning analysis, it seems like there might have been a discrepancy regarding the combined side yard percentage required. In her, which is number 1, it's stating that there's a 30% required combined side yard setback in the R25 zone. And in all of the zoning schedules and appendixes, we found that it was supposed to be 40%.
Yeah, it appears that's a typo. It should be 40% according to the code.
The drawings reflect the 40%, everything that has been submitted to the board.
Great.
So I just wanted to point that out. So the combined side yard setback in the R25 zone is 40%. The lot width, or 40% of the lot width, or 45.76 feet is required based on a lot width of 114.4 feet. The existing side yard combined setback is currently 40.5 feet, which is 35.4%. And we are proposing expanding that nonconformity into a 39-foot setback, or 34.1% of the combined side yard requirement. Second variance is for maximum lot coverage. In the R25 zone, 30% of the lot area is allowed to be covered by impervious materials. The current lot has is a nonconformity by being 35.5% over the allowable, or 5,284 square feet over. The addition that we are proposing is over existing patio, so we are not, extending any nonconformities that aren't there already. The two hardships on this lot and this project are the fact that the lot is a pie-shaped lot, and that just really creates, when you have the rear or the side yard setbacks, that as you go further back in the property, that it really pinches down as you approach the back of the yard, and that's where we're kind of pushing the addition towards the back of the house. The second hardship is the fact that in the R25 zone, 25,000 square feet is the required lot size, and the current lot here is only 14,881 square feet. So it's undersized by 10,119 square feet. What we are proposing, this is just the same copy of everything that was submitted.
I'm sorry if I could just cut in. Do you mind just holding the microphone? They're having trouble hearing you in the back. Thank you.
Okay. So this is just the same set of drawings that have been submitted to the board. So what we are proposing towards the back of the existing office, we are just, as my client Holly Simmons mentioned, we're just kind of squaring off the back of the house, going out 4.5 feet in order to expand the office on the first floor. And then on the second floor, we are just basically creating a new master bathroom and a walk-in closet, and kind of reconfiguring the entrance into the master bedroom suite. I mean, the whole project, we are aligning and matching all the existing materials, the stucco, the clapboard siding, the whole aesthetic that makes it such a charming Tudor-style house with the slate roof. We are trying to rework with the addition of taking some of the original steel windows that were in the house from the back of the house, relocating them to the front to keep that aesthetic of the original Tudor steel windows, which the Simmonses just recently had restored. So we are trying to keep that whole aesthetic with the project. On the back of the house, there are a couple of windows that we are going to have to replace with modern windows that are insulated and conform to egress for fire rating. These are all things that we're kind of proposing on this. As I mentioned, this is all over, the whole first floor addition is over an existing slate patio, so there's no additional impact on the existing nonconformity of the lot coverage. Just kind of the before and after of the elevations of there's just a single story office currently, and we're just aligning that roof line coming across and keeping everything in keeping with the original aesthetic of the house. Same thing on the side of all the same materials, copper gutters, leaders, everything that's all being replicated. It's the same thing of this. Does the board have any questions?
Marie, we start with you.
I have no additional questions.
Okay. Nothing doesn't fit for that, for the planning
Just so the
end.
board understands, I'm not quiet just because I'm a quiet person. Residential applications are not referred to our office.
Right.
So
And they are reviewed in-house here, and we get reports in our packages from that. I would ask the public if there were any questions, but for the record, there is no public. So we will not, I'll do it, but there's nobody here to have that. Questions from the board? I'm already looking at Claire. I mean, Claire or Jay, your choice.
Well, I actually was expecting Claire to say you did a nice job.
Well, that's the deliberations. I had two questions. One, I noticed that in the lot coverage calculations, the driveway takes up more of the lot than the house does. And I know a lot of that's driven by rear garages. I'm afraid I know the answer to this question, but before I walked the property, I was wondering, is there some driveway that could be given up to get closer to lot coverage? But I'm not an engineer, I didn't see it, but I was hoping maybe you would be more creative than we are.
I mean, it's pretty tight, and you're correct. There is a rear-facing garage, so you really have to kind of come into it.
Yeah,
Back into
right,
the garage.
yes.
And there are retaining walls here, so there is a
Right.
bit of expense of trying to cut it back and.
Oh, I'm not
redoing
asking you to take down your
all
retaining
the
wall.
retaining walls,
No,
so.
no. And the other thing, it's more for the board, our attorney, I was shocked Krista did not mention that the air conditioning units and the generator are not screened. They're sitting along the side. Excuse me? They are located along here, between the house and the driveway, the air conditioning units and the generator.
They're existing though, right?
They're existing, but they are existing non-conforming, and as long as we're,
And
often as part of granting the variance, this is something that comes up.
yeah, and usually they are screened. I know there's some exceptions where it's not required depending on the facing, but if there's no screening at all.
There's no screening at all.
Then we should add the screen.
Might be something worth considering if you're able to add some screening.
When you say screening, do you mean landscaping, or do you mean actual, I don't, because we got the permit for the
It can be
generator.
landscaping.
It's, there is,
It can be
there's,
bushes.
there are,
Other bushes?
there are
Wait a minute,
bushes,
wait,
there
you
are,
said
there are
you-
boxwoods in front of I mean,
Okay.
they all went in after the generator went in.
Okay, I walked up your driveway, and they were right there.
Are you saying that the air conditioners are screened by?
Well,
Well,
are
they're
you,
in-
I don't,
in-
maybe I don't
towards the front, but
understand.
not towards the side.
Oh, on the side?
Mm-hmm.
The-
They're supposed to be screened all around.
On all four
So,
sides?
I wouldn't, all I can say is I don't know that if.
Right.
If they gave us the permit, nobody said, we can try it. If you noticed, then the generator was sitting
Mhm.
right close to, and we
To the
have the,
curb.
yeah, so we could try and put something there, certainly. I-
I'm not sure that created exhaust issue.
I'm,
Front and side, it's definitely front, that's when I put mine in, it was the front, and mine's exposed to my neighbor.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it might be from the street.
so from the
If-
street,
I'm not
there
positive.
are boxwoods
Yeah.
from the street.
Yeah.
Just gonna say.
What?
Ed, if you want to go on to the next question, I could try to look up the exact
Okay, we're gonna-
requirements
we're
while.
gonna
That
get
was
the
the last
exact
one.
requirements.
Oh, okay.
Any other questions? Claire, were you
No.
done? Okay.
I'll let somebody else
Jeff,
talk.
Jeff?
Jay?
I don't have any questions. Happy
Okay.
to give my opinion.
Questions on this side? Okay, we'll give the attorney a minute to try and find out the answer to the question. In the meantime, I won't ask the public if there's anybody who has questions, or if there's anybody who has an opinion, because you're not here. We're trying anyway.
And are those units located in the side yard, front yard, rear yard? Do we know?
Side yard, between the house and the driveway.
But they are well beyond the 17-foot side yard setback required.
Can
So
we
they can-
put a condition in that they'll review this with the appropriate city officials and correct any deficiencies?
That's a possibility.
I like that.
You like that?
Is the hedgerow on the outside of the driveway, is that your hedgerow or is that the neighbor's hedgerow? Because I mean, I don't know how tall that is. Does that provide side screening? I mean, it's a little further off, but there is a hedgerow.
Well, I think the easiest thing is to allow our professional staff at City Hall to deal with it and put it in as a condition, and they'll do I'm sure they'll do whatever is required to meet what the city officials require.
Yeah, that's a safe bet. I'm reading through, and we have the general requirement for air conditioning and generators that they, I just lost it. Any equipment located in the front or side yard must be screened with dense landscaping and/or solid fencing. It doesn't say the specific distance, so I don't know, whether some of those distant, plants are considered to sufficiently screen this, but as a safe backup, we'll condition it upon reviewing with the city officials to confirm whether any additional screening of those air
Okay.
conditioners and generators are required.
Okay, good, sorry.
Good, I think that works. Okay, do you have any other comments to make to us?
I think you just put it before the board for discussion.
Okay. Again, conditions that we might have, as well as the number of votes required.
Yep, so our conditions, we have two. One, once again, our usual compliance with those conditions noted in the board engineer's memorandum. And the second, as we were just discussing, that the applicant shall review the existing air conditioner and generator screening and with the city and comply with any additional screening requirements.
Okay, who would like to open
And
up our,
sorry for votes, once again, there's no D variances. We only have C variances. 4 votes are required to approve.
okay, thank you. And I added that this year because sometimes we want that, people ask and we say it in the beginning, but then half the time we forget to talk about it later on, unless it's a 5 vote, and then we seem to bring it back up. Who would like to start deliberations? Anybody on the
Is it too
right
late to ask a
side?
question?
You were supposed to ask the questions earlier,
I
but
know.
go ahead.
I'm learning.
Go ahead, ask it.
I have a question. So, the addition is above it looks like, I guess it was a screened-in porch. I mean, I don't know, I guess,
I
the house-
believe at some point it might have been a screened-in porch years ago because it's on a slab-on grade and the rest of the house has a full basement. And also, that whole original office has modern windows versus the steel windows that are in the rest of the house. So my guess is that that was a screen porch that was infilled at some point.
So is it gonna have to be demolished in order to put the two-story addition, or you can build
We're
a
just
second?
taking the roof off and going up.
So it has the
And
support.
expanding backwards the 4.5 feet and then going up vertically.
Okay, so I guess my question was, since you are asking for the side yard, because you go over the percentage, so there was a setback. Did you ever consider adding the addition behind the house, on top of where the patio is, instead of, so it's, because, you said it's a triangle lot, so because you went gone behind that formal screened-in porch, you're fine, you know what I mean?
No, I understand. The problem is on the front and back, there are lower plate heights because of the steep roof pitch. So if you did an addition out the back, you're really kind of cutting into the roof line, and then with the slate roof, then you're kind of introducing a whole different angle roof, and it's just gonna kind of deter from the original aesthetic of the house of the steep roofs. So we kind of like the idea of just going off of that office and just getting that little bit of extra space and continuing the roof line across, so we're not kind of introducing any kind of foreign roof lines to the whole house.
And if you built the addition in the back, wouldn't that mess with the flow of the living room and the sliders that go into the backyard?
It would totally,
Back
yes.
porch,
Yes.
patio, I mean?
And further, because of the pie-shaped lot, adding in the back, you'd essentially have to build over the driveway and the retaining walls to get within the buildable envelope.
I mean, if we went back this way, there are some window wells that are in the basement that would also be compromised, which then would eliminate daylight down in that basement. So we were trying to avoid any of that.
Okay, any other, are we done with questions now? Okay. Can we go into executive session at this point, the conditions?
We already know.
You did those?
Yes.
Okay, I'll catch back up. Who would like to begin deliberations? Allison, did you have? As long as you ask the last question, you get the first comment.
I just don't know what I'm allowed to comment on. I do not, I don't think we should approve this. I think it completely changes the whole look of the home. I'm not sure if that's within the zoning.
So
Yeah.
changing the look of a home is not in itself
Okay,
a
okay.
negative criteria that we can rule
Okay,
on.
okay.
If there was a, detriment to the aesthetics, to either the neighbors or surrounding properties, that's something that could potentially be considered, but a change alone is not an appropriate negative criteria.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Just observation, considering the shape of the lot and the undersized nature of it, I mean, it's less than 60% of what it's zoned for. And, the benefits, especially the second floor, I think it just really adds a ton of, practicality and usability to the home, so it seems like it's reasonable.
Okay, and I'm not sure.
Yes, I'm looking here at the variances that we are approving, and they are 34 instead of 30 required. That's
It's
minor.
actually 40.
And the
That's-
other one
It's 40.
is,
It's not supposed to be 30, it's
So
40.
it's 34.09 is the total side yard percentage proposed, 40% is required, so they're under that minimum level.
yes, that's little off, but looking at the other one, that is 35, where 30 is maximum, so this I can live with. The first one, I don't know if there is any way of reducing that. If not, I think I can support as is. I can support this application.
Okay.
I too can support this, and if Mr. Side Yard Setback Nazi is in favor of this, yes. Sorry about that, Mr. Malay. But I think that this addition is very thoughtful, is extremely modest, is really thoughtfully proposed to match with the existing, to use. I love that you're reusing the original steel windows elsewhere in the house. You're matching the gutters, you're matching the materials, you're doing everything right along those lines. And yes, the pie-shaped lot is a hardship, because there really is no way to put, to add to the square footage of this house, other than where you're doing it. I think you're doing a very good job here.
Okay, any other comments? Go ahead.
I'm also in favor. I think that, there's no increase in lot coverage. You're really just building on top of something that was already developed. You have a house under it, you have a patio behind it. So some of this side yard, backyard discussion, to me, a lot of it is, it's already pre-existing. Except that maybe now you have a story a little bit further, that's going a little bit further out. But I think it was, thoughtfully done, and everything is, the flow of the lines, lining it up in the back and all that. I mean, people aren't going to see it from the back, but, taking that time for the visual in the back also shows, how thoughtful it was.
I can support this. I mean, it's a no-brainer as far as I'm concerned. These pie-shaped lots are a problem, non-conforming, so it's you're stuck. So I support this.
Nothing else, okay. Having heard everyone's concerns, I think it gives everybody in the neighborhood, provides the same materials. It allows there's no negative there, there's no negative effect. It shouldn't have any water effects or anything like that, because you're using the same downspouts coming off the same size roof, so that those should not be a problem. I don't see any negatives to the neighborhood. I see plenty of positives in the house becoming more usable for the family, and being able to move forward. And I would entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay. Chairman Steiner?
Yes.
Mr. Nelson?
Yes.
Ms. Zahn?
Yes.
Mr. Curran?
Yes.
Mr. Malay?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Loiketz?
Yes.
Ms. Toth?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you.
Good luck with your project. And again, I tell you the same thing I tell everybody else: read your resolution. At this point, we have some resolutions for memorialization and minutes for approval, so give your attention to Stephanie.
Okay, so the first resolution we have is 64 Blackburn Road. That's ZB-23-2205, Brad and Michelle Olson. They're block 3103, lot 32. So our eligible voting members are Chairman Steiner, Mr. Malay, Vice Chairman Loiketz, and Ms. Toth. Can I have a motion?
Moved.
Second.
Okay. Chairman Steiner,
Yes.
Mr. Malay,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Loiketz,
Yes.
Ms. Toth.
Yes.
The motion carries. The next one we have is 21 Sherman Avenue. That's ZB-23-2217, Jose Alvarez and Jennifer Balson. That's block 1203, lot 34. Our eligible voting members are Chairman Steiner, Mr. Malay, Vice Chairman Loiketz, and Ms. Toth. Can someone move that one?
So moved.
Okay, and a second?
Second.
Okay. Chairman Steiner,
Yes.
Mr. Malay,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Loiketz,
Yes.
Ms. Toth.
Yes.
The motion carries. The last one we have is 86 Larned Road. That's ZB-23-2207, Emmett and Regina Daly, Block 4609, Lot 8. Our eligible voting members are Chairman Steiner, Vice Chairman Loiketz, and Ms. Toth. Can we have a motion?
So, second. Oh, you want the second? Go for it.
You can have it.
Okay.
I just knew there were three of us.
Chairman Steiner,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Loiketz,
Yes.
Ms. Toth.
Yes.
Okay, the motion carries. So lastly, we have our minutes for approval. Those are the minutes from December 18th, 2023. We can do a voice vote, but we're only going to include the members who were present for that meeting, which were, I believe, Chairman Steiner, Vice Chairman Loiketz, Mr. Malay, and Ms. Toth. Can we have a motion
Moved.
and a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. Okay.
Okay, at this point, I would announce that our next meeting is Wednesday, January the 17th.
Yes.
And we are going to, I'm going to ask for a motion to go into executive session for training. We will come out of executive session and take no other formal action other than to adjourn. So I would look for such a motion from
Moved.
somebody, unless you don't want to be trained tonight.
Are we going to do a roll call vote?
No, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Abstains? We are in executive session. Jay,
Could we take
go
a
for it.
5 minute?